The following segment is a paid commercial program by Heritage Bank, member FDIC. It's time for Ask the Expert on News Talk 1340 and 96.3 FM, KWLM.
Well, indeed it is. As we mentioned earlier, time for Ask the Expert this morning on News Talk 1340 and 96.3 FM, KWLM. I'm Jason Brandt, and it is our esteemed pleasure to have with us today, as we were also mentioning earlier, the CEO of Heritage Bank, recently appointed. So, and that's Bob Mathiasen. Bob, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for coming out and being with us here today.
Yeah, beautiful day again.
It is. A warm one, but we were mentioning earlier that we talk about days like this in December, so we better not complain too much. So
that's right. We have no to complain in Minnesota.
No, we're good at it, but anyway, I'm kidding. But to the business at hand here today, like I was mentioning, you're recently named CEO of Heritage Bank, and how's the transition going?
You know, it's been a great transition. I'm really honored that the bank's board of directors put their trust in me to be that next leader of the organization. We've got long community roots, not a lot of changes necessary. We just got to keep doing what we've been doing.
Sure.
For me, probably the biggest change has been I find myself, having worn many hats over the years, being much more of a doer and getting involved, diving deep into things that I'm doing a lot more listening, listening to our customers, listening to our team members, listening to what's happening in the community, what the needs of the community are, and then kind of figuring out where I can insert myself and help move things along.
And that's probably the biggest factor that, people obviously really appreciate that, but just, okay, this is what we're thinking. This is, our concerns, or these are the good things, or so it goes both ways that way too.
Absolutely, customer feedback, even if it crosses over to a customer complaint, is a gift to us. That's how we get better. That's how we get stronger. That's how we understand, the people we're serving, and from our team members, I want all of them to feel they have a voice. Yeah,
and that's fantastic. That that like you just said, it's a chance to get better and not to ruminate on what that problem might be, but to get better and move on from there. But then, like you said, kind of jumping right into things here, interest rates have been in the news a lot lately, Bob, and are interest rates likely to come down soon? That's a good question.
That's a great question, and there's no one knows with any certainty. The new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh, has been careful to not exactly say what the Fed's going to do next. We do know that inflation still is high. We had some reports this week that those numbers are coming down, but he's made it clear that their initiative of getting inflation down to that 2% mark is his focus. So while many people would like to see lower rates, the Fed may be reluctant to cut rates too quickly if inflation remains elevated.
Sure. And then that kind of leads into our next question here. What does the new Federal Reserve Chair really mean for the economy? And you kind of touched on that. And like you said, it's not to, I guess maybe to, to give into, like just, lowering them for the sake of lowering them obviously is not a good thing.
Correct.
So.
Correct. Yeah. A new Fed chair does matter. He brings a different philosophy, and I'm sure he'll have ways of putting his stamp on that role. But he is just one member of the Federal Reserve Committee that determines those rates. So,
sure, and people probably maybe sometimes forget that too. It's not just one person that does that.
Absolutely, and as the chair, he has influence, and he can persuade people to see things his way, but at the end of the day, he is one vote, and he like I said, he's made it clear that striving for that 2% target is the goal, and to remain politically independent. The Federal Reserve is, even though it's under a Republican president today, they are not political. They are neutral. They are independent, and that's something he also has said he's fighting for. The one stamp that Fed Chair Warsh has already indicated is they're going to do less forward guidance, which in the past the Federal Reserve talks about what they're doing for this meeting and raising rates or not raising, or lowering rates or raising rates. But they also give forward guidance on what they think the economy is going to do and what they think they'll be doing in the future. He said they're going to kind of stop doing that, which caused the market to react a little bit to that. But at the end of the day, if you really look back, how many times was that Fed guidance accurate. It's really hard to predict the future.
Very much so.
I think maybe if anything, he's going to stop doing it to save some embarrassment for the Federal Reserve and help their reputation, because it's hard to predict what's going to happen in 3 months or 6 months from now.
Because they're up there, but just people. Well, you said this then. And then, it winds up maybe being, so probably very, very sage advice, I guess, for them to adhere by there.
So with that said, Fed Chair Warsh was appointed by Trump, who has been very clear that he thinks rates are too high and they need to come down. Yeah. So in the back of his mind, he has that voice there, and if it's appropriate or getting close to being appropriate, I wouldn't be shocked if we did see a rate cut here yet in 2026. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, sure. Okay, but then, kind of more locally here, Bob, interest rates for home buyers, obviously very much in the forefront of the news here lately. And what does the current rate environment, I guess, mean for home buyers?
Yeah, I talked to a couple of people on our team, and last night at Rock and Robbins, I was talking to a couple of different realtors on the state of the market, and it's been a long time since things have been normal. Yeah. But it feels like locally we're kind of in a normal summer pattern right now. Okay. Inventories are about historically where they say is a healthy place to be. There's still challenges with finding the lower priced homes in this community, but the Federal Reserve and the lowering or raising of interest rates, those aren't the mortgage rates. The mortgage rates are set by the market, and those are normally based on kind of the longer term outlook of where we're heading as an economy, and the focus of the Fed bringing inflation back down will bring down longer-term rates. If we can sustain that 2% inflation, the market will become more comfortable, and those longer-term rates will come down. So it's possible that if the Fed does this job, we will see some lower rates as we head into the year. But one of the things we talk about with our customers that come to visit us for a home is home buying is much more than just how much can I afford. We help customers navigate making sure that they can not only afford the home that they're purchasing, but also having a savings plan and the income to maintain a home needs to be equally part of those decisions. Our job is not just to make the loan. Our job is to help those customers make sound financial decisions.
Exactly.
And what you do once you own the home is also very important. We see that happen where someone a banker gets someone into a home, but then that person struggles going forward, and that's not setting them up for success.
Sure, very much so, yeah. And of course, also the thing that a lot of people talk about lately, the economy, and we're always looking for good news, Bob. And what gives you optimism about the economy nowadays? Well,
we're living in a really exciting time right now with AI. I think I'd say there's two things that give me optimism about the economy right now, and one is that American innovation, that AI and the automation that we're seeing with technology is going to change the way the world operates, and America's out front on that. There's this fear. There's always fear, and there's optimism on these things. That when there's unknowns, the fear is that it's going to replace jobs. Well, so far, we're seeing jobs increase as a result of the technologies that we're talking about. So American innovation is one of the things that gives me optimism. The other one really is America entrepreneurism, which remains strong. I looked it up prior to the meeting here this morning, and 5 million new businesses are started each year.
Wow. And that kind of leads into our next point here, and really want to stress, Bob, why, or ask, why is entrepreneurship so important to the health of our local economy? And you kind of led into that there.
Yeah, well, I think entrepreneurship is one of the most misunderstood parts of our economy. I see on Facebook or something when a business closes, many people immediately hop on and in the comments say, "Oh, I wonder what will go there next," or they look at the empty building and say, "Why doesn't somebody just buy that and turn it into apartments?" Or why doesn't somebody open up you name the restaurant?
Sure.
the reality is that somebody is an entrepreneur, and that entrepreneur is not spending taxpayer money. They're risking their own money, their own reputation, and often signing personal guarantees that put years of their savings on the line. So every vacant building has a story behind it. Somebody had a dream, somebody saw an opportunity, somebody signed leases, borrowed money, worked long nights, missed family events, took a chance. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So when a business closes, that is not simply a building becoming vacant. It's someone, just kind of maybe lost their lifelong dream.
Yeah.
And, the businesses we enjoy today did not appear by accident. That favorite coffee shop or local restaurant or the farm operations around this part of the state. They all exist because somebody was willing to take a risk before they knew whether or not they would succeed. And that's why entrepreneurship matters.
Yeah.
That is why I always encourage people to support local businesses whenever they can. If those local businesses disappear, they are not automatically replaced. The next entrepreneur may never come. The next investment may never happen. That next risk may not be taken. And eventually, that favorite store, restaurant, or business that helped define the community becomes an empty building.
Yeah.
For years, one of the greatest strengths of America was that we celebrated people who took those risks. That entrepreneurship spirit is what created jobs, generated our tax revenue, improved our communities. Today there seems to be a group of people that fail to recognize that risk-taking, who view business owners as greedy or someone that's taken advantage of the people in the community, and that's really sad.
Yeah, it is.
I have a front row seat every day. I sit across the table from people who are betting on themselves. Most business owners are not getting rich. In fact, many could probably make more money working for someone else with a lot less headaches. What drives them is the opportunity to build something to serve customers, create jobs, and make the community better. So communities that thrive are the ones that encourage entrepreneurship, that support local businesses, and appreciate the people willing to take that risk. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Oh no, that's fantastic. That's what it's all about, Bob. And flourishing, like you said, it's kind of swung that way. Unfortunately, where, like you said, you look on Facebook and people are kind of running it down, or it's this or that, or I wonder what's going on there next. Like you said, it's just supposed to happen automatically, and obviously it doesn't. And we hope it swings back, like you were mentioning, like it used to be, where like you said, they were celebrated, and we support local businesses and that they succeed, but we forget far too often that, like you just said, somebody gambling everything. I mean, it's it's a huge risk, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what the statistics are, but I would guess that for every 10 businesses that started, a good percent of those don't make it beyond a certain 3 to 5 years, and that one that makes it, there's 20 that didn't, that never really got over the top, that maybe got a paycheck but never really became a strong franchise or anything.
And people also forget how complex it is. I mean, like there's leases, there's this, there's that. I mean, there's just a myriad of details that people have to go through. And again, it brings out that point more, how big of a risk they're taking when there's so many things coming at you at one time.
Yeah, and that's something that we really work for to achieve at Heritage Bank is to be that trusted advisor, to sit down and be able to help talk through those things. And the best business for us to work with is not one that thinks they have all the answers. It's someone who is willing to be credibly challenged to think deeper about why they're successful or what that next investment of equipment's going to do for them. If they already have all the answers, we're probably not the right bank for them. We like to sit down and really make a difference and try to help
hash things out and obviously answer questions that they may have, and I'm sure a lot of those are bounced off you guys, that's for sure. But kind of wrapping things up here, Bob, is America, do you think, heading in the right direction economically?
If by the right direction we're talking about, do we have economic growth, innovation? Is there business investment happening? Are jobs being created? The answer is yes. So, America's heading in the right direction from that standpoint. Unemployment remains low. Wages have risen. And we talked earlier about how America is a leader in the technology space and the AI space. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. There's many, though, that would argue that Americans don't experience the economy through all these statistics. They experience it when they go to the grocery store or when they fill up their gas tank. And, it's easy to forget how fortunate we are to be in America at this time. By global standards, even a relatively modest U.S. income places someone in the globally in the top 10%.
Sure.
I did a little research, and $26,000 a year, $12.50 an hour, working 40 hours a week, puts someone in the top percent of wage earners around the world.
Wow!
If you can get a job and you're fortunate enough to earn a little bit more, you can earn $60,000 a year. You're in the top 1% globally.
Wow.
Of income. And those opportunities are out there. Those abilities to invest in yourself and improve yourself to get to those next levels. It's just an amazing place. So I'm very optimistic. Where the economy is, and that we're going to continue to thrive.
Yeah, and then like you just said, Bob, also, of course, people, when you're talking about maybe, getting a business going and about buying a home, and obviously the myriad of other things that you guys do with, obviously, to have people, stop in and make it happen with Heritage Bank.
Absolutely. We love to have those conversations. Banking feels sometimes it's just about a bunch of different transactions you do. Use that banker, use that person to bounce some things around, and we really are putting emphasis on financial literacy and helping people succeed financially is our mission. So we encourage those. We look forward to those conversations.
Very much so. Well, Bob, an absolute pleasure to have you with us here today. Again, Bob Mathiasen, recently appointed CEO of Heritage Bank here in Willmar. And Bob, like I said, been a lot of fun having you out here, and a lot of great info for us today here on Ask the Expert. Please come on and be with us again sometime soon.
Thank you very much.